Welcome to Bleav in 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav in 76ers is presented by betonline.ag.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the year. It's football season, and you know what that means? It means it's time to get in on BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav in 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash here with legendary 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother Teja Dash. Guys, it's been a while since we met, but a lot has happened since our last show, and we gotta kind of get right into it. I know some of our fans on YouTube are very concerned about what went on over the last few games. But we'll begin with one of the big things that happened since our last show, which was Jared McCain. So obviously 76ers fell to the Indiana Pacers, and in that game we lost Jared McCain, which a lot of us thought was just a concussion. And then it turns out the day later it's a knee injury. And then also in that same game we lose Embiid, but we'll get to Embiid after this. But let's just start with Jared McCain. So we're losing Jared McCain indefinitely with a lateral meniscus tear in his left knee. So obviously when they say indefinitely, that can mean a variety of things. And obviously we don't know the severity of the injury, but do you think this is the last we'll see of Jared McCain this year? And how do you guys see the Sixers filling the void of Jared McCain?
First off, it's unfortunate, man. I don't want to see anyone get injured, especially an injury where that requires surgery. So how long that's going to be, I don't know. I mean, everyone's body is different when they require surgery. So I have no way of kind of knowing that, especially, my meniscus was my medial meniscus. His is lateral meniscus. So I don't know if one's more severe than the other. I would have to ask a couple of doctors to do more research on that. But either way it go, such a promising start of his career. So you disappointed to see that. I don't know. I mean, I know my initial prognosis when I had my knee surgery was 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 or something like that. Obviously he's early in his career, so his recovery could be smoother and better and swifter. Hopefully that's the case. But I can see, if I had to guess, I would say 3 to 4 months, which will probably get him back like towards the end of the year, right before the playoffs. Would probably be my long-term guess. So hopefully we can continue to make a run and get back into the playoffs. And my guess is that he would, not knowing how long, you know what I'm saying? Like how long it would take for him to come back, meaning like come back where you're allowed to play basketball and get on the court, and then come back and kind of be effective without limitations. Kind of, it's different levels to a return. Come back to practice, come back to play without limitations, and playing without limitations as well, as far as your minutes and like that.
And then as far as like filling the void without him, what do you think about that?
I think Council Jr. is going to get some minutes. I think they'll try to play Eric Gordon and see what he gives you. If he has a good night or he has things going early on, they'll stick with it. But I do think that he'll get a chance. But I think that you'll see Kyle Lowry probably pay more and Maxey kind of played more of off the ball to try to make up more of the scoring load. So I think collectively, I don't think it's going to be one particular person that'll get increased minutes. I do think that, collectively, you see Kelly's minutes will be going up as well, where his minutes are kind of going down a little bit when Maxey was kind of taking off. So I think collectively, you'll see guys' minutes increase, and at times maybe go back down and then come back up.
So I'm no doctor, but I was looking up medial versus lateral meniscus. It says the medial meniscus injury is generally considered more severe than a lateral meniscus injury because the medial meniscus is less mobile and more tightly attached to your knee joint, making it more prone to tears and injuries compared to lateral meniscus. Therefore, a medial meniscus tear is statistically more common. It also says, however, it is well known that a lateral meniscus is taken out. The consequences are almost always worse than having a medial meniscus resected. So I guess now it depends on the severity of the tear and what they have to do to repair it. So that's
whether they're
why
shaving it down or taking it out.
Yeah. So that's why they have no timetable yet, because they don't know. Like Embiid, remember Embiid? They didn't know a lot at first because they had to see what they needed to actually do to it, what's necessary.
I mean, and sometimes that decision is made during the procedure.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get more testing and get more eyes on it on the MRI, and you get more eyes on it, then you can make a decision. I mean, sometimes it really depends on who's doing his procedure as well. I mean, I would hope he's going to the best of the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, given that, it's hard to know about timetables. Embiid, again, meniscus obviously is so different, so it's hard to compare one to the next. But, I mean, Embiid hurt his meniscus later on in the season, and he was still back by playoff time. So, hopefully McCain can be back before the playoffs. As far as
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm like coming back and being, without restrictions and all that are two different things.
Yeah. At least, someone like, Embiid last year, it's like we had to get him right in and lean on him because he was our guy. At least McCain actually has the luxury of being able to get worked in slowly over time. Maybe take like a 6-man or come off the bench, reserve, slowly get involved. Embiid's like, when can you play 30 plus and score 35 for us a night? Like that's a lot to have to take on right after you tear meniscus. Filling void's going to have to be a collective, right? It's going to have to be Maxey and George scoring a little more, being a little more aggressive. It's not that hard for Maxey. I think Maxey has no problem shooting the ball a million times. George has been a little more passive in Philly so far. What's so funny?
Oh my goodness. Just keep talking. I'm just listening.
George's been a little more passive so far this season. He's been a little more playmaking, which I don't mind. It's good. I mean, his sister up. I just think with what we're dealing with now, we'll need a little more what we saw last night going forward, right? They need to, I think both those guys just need to be aggressive, look for their shots all the time, but not get into that whole one-on-one, my turn, your turn thing. And that's a tough balance, right? Other guys are going to have to score a bit more. Oubre is going to have to score a bit more. And then as far as leaning on someone else to come out of it, I would say Eric Gordon, I guess, is the closest comp to a McCain, right? I mean, didn't we call Eric Gordon kind of like a McCain, kind of like a younger Eric Gordon for a little bit? So, Eric Gordon's going to have to drink from the fountain of youth to retouch that, and obviously he can't be McCain, but he can give us at least parts of McCain, right? I mean, give us the 3-point shooting, because Gordon has been a great 3-point shooter over his career. So if he can come in and help that loss, at least a 3-point loss, then I'd say it helps a lot.
Yeah. McCain was the odds-on favorite to be the rookie of the year before the injury. Damn shame.
It is a shame.
So hopefully he gets well and, heals up. Whether we do see him this year or next year, he's got a bright future ahead of him. All right, so now we're going to get to the other injury that happened in that game. Joel Embiid suffered another sinus fracture. He's going to be reevaluated early next week. But Philadelphia 76ers coach Nick Nurse expressed optimism about Embiid's return to action, saying his recent sinus fracture is, quote, not nearly as severe as the 2 previous facial fractures that he has had, which is a good thing to hear that, the optimism surrounding that. But this injury comes after Embiid recently opened up a little bit about how his knee injury has impacted him. Quote, there's no injury, just between the swelling. We've got to get it figured out. I've been saying it for the last few months. It's been extremely depressing. I would love to play every single game, but sometimes your body just says no, and you can't do nothing about it. Eric, as someone who has battled through injuries throughout your career, like Joel has, what advice would you give for hearing that Embiid, these injuries are, depressing him, and then yet he says this, and a game later he gets hurt again? What kind of advice would you give Embiid, as an NBA vet yourself, who battled through those injuries? What kind of advice would you give him as he kind of navigates through all these injuries?
It's tough, man. The one advice, just keep your faith, because injuries are tough, and they're different from a standpoint of, you can have different kind of injuries. There's injuries that you can play with. There's injuries that sit you down. And there's injuries that you may feel like, there were times when I played and I got injured, and up until maybe right before the game, I was feeling like there was no way I could play. And then I end up playing, and you kind of gradually never miss a game. And then there's those injuries that are prolonging, where it seems to always be something real nagging. And that seems to be where Joel was at. So, you got to keep his faith, because I've been there. I know when that you say is no injury, but the swelling keeps coming. Obviously something's keeping the swelling coming. So it's complications from the injury.
Yeah.
Even though you may be permitted to play, or your injury is stable, meaning maybe no more further damage can be done, as they, in doctor's terms, as they say. But there's complications from it. When I broke my ankle and had the procedure and I was able to play, I developed Achilles tendonitis from it, which was extremely painful. But yeah, I wasn't injured. My injury was healed, but there were still complications from that injury. So that's a part that's never really talked about, when people get injured and they come back, and those same expectations that were put on you before the injury are put back on you. And then people seem kind of puzzled at times why players take a while to get back to where they were. Sometimes you never know. You never do. You just never know when they cut you open, how it's going to be on the back end. Like, you really don't know. So yes, he's considered not injured, but if he's still getting swelling from the injury that he had, then to me, he is still injured. And he's not back to close to where he was pre-injury. So I don't know how long this is going to last, and hopefully for his sake, it doesn't last too long. But I think this is going to be something that probably seeing what I see now, this is going to be something that's probably going to take us through most of this season.
As far as his latest injury, I was looking at that tweet from Derek Bodner that he posted about the low number of facial fractures that the NBA's had in the last however many years, and then Embiid has like a large chunk of those. And it's just crazy how one man can keep getting his face broken. It's crazy. There's no way to explain it. There's a lot of guys that get in the mix. There's a lot of guys that.
It's different because some guys have had I think it probably happens more than is documented. I know my nose broke by Tim Hardaway. I don't even think Tim didn't even realize he probably did it. I didn't miss any time. It just kind of was a little crooked, but it wasn't really like a fracture. But guys, sometimes you don't miss time from it. So I think that sometimes they're only looking at it from a standpoint of missing time. But guys get hit in the face all the time. You'll see guys used to put the mask on all the time.
Yep.
Back in the day. And to protect themselves from being hit again in that same spot. You don't really see the mask anymore because guys don't play. They just won't play.
Embiid hates the mask.
Some of it is their right. Some of it is the team isn't necessarily saying, "Hey, can you still play?" I mean, the guys just used to play. I Bleav that some of these injuries, facial injuries, guys used to play with. And now
I've seen guys,
you just don't see it very often.
And I've seen guys get used to the mask and play with it. I think Hamilton played long term with the mask, right? Even after he got healed up, didn't he?
Rip might have played, almost the rest of his career.
I think he played because he just got used to it.
Yeah.
And I know Embiid hates the mask.
I mean, Joel played with one. Joel played with one before. Yeah.
Do you think we're at the point now? I mean, he must be talking to.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm saying I don't think that. I just know that. I'm just saying, as far as your numbers, where you're saying that it wasn't that many. I'm just saying I think it was more than that. But
yes,
especially when I played, people got hit in the face all the time. Guys just didn't always sit out from it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. I guess documented cases were like severe cases, maybe where they had to miss time for it.
Yes, where people sitting or missing time. Yes.
We're at what now? 3 fractures in the face for him? 3, right?
3.
I mean, he didn't even play the late great Dikembe Mutombo, who was, a regular at putting people out.
That's right. Do you think? And then he got it all back from Shaq that one series, man. He was delivering blows to poor Dikembe in that series.
Yeah. He wasn't the only one that got it from Shaq.
Yeah. That was like some of those slow motions, man. It was like watching a boxer get hit with a glove sometimes. You can see like the sweat come out of people's mouths and stuff when they're getting hit. Do you think he's got to be talking about it? Maybe long-term mask. I know he hates the mask, but at some point, maybe long-term just wear the mask Hamilton style? Or no, you don't think so?
I don't think he'll ever commit to that long term.
He hates it too much.
That's something he would choose to do.
What, 2 more facial fractures? Like, all right, I gotta wear a mask. You gotta do it. I can't help this anymore. I can't do this anymore.
I mean, I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. I just don't think that he'll commit to it no matter what.
Man.
Maybe he may commit to it until it heals properly, but no, I just can't see him doing that.
Yeah, he hates it. Be a great press conference question for him. How many more facial fractures before you consider just wearing the mask all the time? Because I mean, he's talked about how painful these are too. The actual injuries. So it's like one thing is just to avoid it, just to not have it happen anymore. So. But
he even branded it too. I mean, when he got it the first time we were the mask, Phantom of the Process, he embraced that. So I was like, okay, maybe there is a little gimmick there that he can kind of ride with. But I mean, you don't like playing with it, man. Yeah, he's adjusting it every time he's playing with it.
Philadelphia Sinus Sixers, man.
Yeah.
Talk about branding. Brand that.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you another thing, kind of in regards to this, and I know it's. I when athletes open up about depression and stuff, it's not easy. It's not easy to do that anywhere, whether you're an athlete or not, to open up about how you're feeling, right? And especially with the athletes, there's millions and millions of people, has opinion on your life, your injuries, and all that stuff. Today, Stephen A. Smith was on First Take, and he kind of pretty much called out Embiid in a way, likening him to Ben Simmons. And I think to say this a week after Embiid comes out saying, he's depressed about all the injuries he's going through, I'm going to play the clip. I just want to get your guys' opinion on what Stephen A. Smith said about it.
Let me say this to Joel Embiid in all seriousness. My brother, you're about a tad bit away from being compared to Ben Simmons. It's starting to look that bad. Now, let me tell you something right now. You bring up the injuries and all of that stuff. I look at the disinterest on his face. And that was before it got cracked, okay? I look at the disinterest, the lack of enthusiasm, whatever. Now, we can talk about his injuries, and fair enough, Perk, right? But here's the problem. You were injured last year. You only played 39 games. In the playoffs, obviously, you got bounced in the first round by the New York Knicks. You didn't look that way in the Olympics. Looked pretty damn happy. Looked pretty damn happy playing in the Olympics, okay? And then inexplicably, you ain't ready to go come this season, all right? And I'm looking at that, and I got this list of injuries here, just so y'all know. Sinus fracture. Foot, knee, health protocols, back, hand, face, ankle, shoulder, calf, hip, elbow, ribs, injury management. That is why I was against your assertion to sit him down, because I'm going like this. He's always hurt. This brother will get hurt going to the bathroom. I gotta use him when I gotta use him, because I never know. Just because you don't play him don't mean he ain't gonna show up hurt. Wow. Evidenced by him playing in the Olympics, looking just fine, and then 2 months later when the season starts, there's nothing. He's injured, and it's like, what the hell happened?
Just another classic case of the insensitivity that athletes get. But what do you guys think of that? I mean, the Ben Simmons comparison. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
No, Steve is right. I mean, he has a right to have an opinion, and then also his opinion is based on entertainment. But I know Steve, so I think he feels that way though. I mean, he probably adds some little selling points and drama for television. But I do think that he feels that way. I don't really know where almost like Ben Simmons, like I didn't know where he was going with that comparison. But the injuries is one thing. To me, it sounded like he's questioning him sitting out for all of his injuries. To me, that's what it sounded like. More than him just being injury prone. It's like, when are you going to play with some of these injuries? When are you going to play through some of these injuries? That's the only thing. Maybe that's where he was going with Ben Simmons comparison. Otherwise, I didn't really get it.
He said the disinterest in his face and the lack of enthusiasm and interest.
I don't necessarily see that. Like I didn't look at Joel. Like, we've never had conversations like we seen the disinterest. Like, no. And I know we probably watch the Sixers more than Stephen A. does, and I don't see that. I don't see that being the case. So it's hard for me to kind of agree with that point. But the availability, obviously, that's an issue. The availability,
it's valid,
with injuries, is that's there. That's going to be there. Unfortunately, that's probably going to be the rest of his career. That's probably going to be there for a while. So I don't know how it's going to be addressed, but I think it was maybe a little early for that conversation for him to, for what he's done. He is coming off of, like you said, like what he did pre-injury, what he was doing pre-injury in February, whenever it was. And then he was MVP the year before that. I mean, he was arguably on his way to back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah.
So
scoring titles.
It's obvious that if he hasn't consistently gotten back to that form, there's a reason why, because it wasn't like he was just not performing or playing pre that time. So I think that it's disappointing. It has to be disappointing from all ways of him not being able to consistently be at the level that he was at, and that's what tells me that it's an injury, because most guys at his level, with the minutes and with the touches that they get, they can somehow come close to getting back to the level where they were. Look at a guy like Kevin Durant, who's had a high injury amount.
Yeah.
But that he still sustains that level of play no matter what.
Yeah.
And maybe it's unfair to compare him to KD. But KD is very special. But I'm just giving an example of a high talent guy that has had a higher than average amount of injuries that kept him out long term. But still, when he came back, he was still that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm gonna stand on it. I think Joel was more injured than they're putting on.
What also is flawed in Stephen A's comment is that Embiid was injured before we even had Ben Simmons. So, like, if anything, Ben Simmons pulled an Embiid, not the other way around. Embiid missed like 2 seasons before we even got Ben. So, I mean, he's been doing this for long before Ben was even drafted into the NBA. So that's why, if he wants to compare the disinterest part, but man, we haven't even seen him enough to know he's disinterested. I mean, he's been played in a handful of games, if you want to even count the last one. So, yeah. And if he looks that way, might it be tied to his recent quote that he's extremely frustrated, annoyed, and depressed about it all? I mean, that's kind of an easy target for him to go at. And he's comparing him to a guy who also, on his way out of Philadelphia, talked about mental health. So, they also have that in common too. A guy who was frustrated by his injuries and said he had mental health problems. Whether people want to say it was valid or not, that's up to them. But that's what he was saying. And that's what Embiid's saying now. So a little weird for Stephen A to say that.
Too soon on many accounts in his soliloquy there.
Yeah, and he was speaking to Joel. He said, "This is to Joel."
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Stephen A's just trying to light a fire under him.
Maybe I know he is a big Joel Embiid fan. Yeah. I will say that.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it.
We'll see. Interesting.
So last topic before we go, obviously last night, we don't play again until Friday, so no game picks today. But last night we got to see a little bit of life without Jared McCain and without Embiid last night. We saw 73 points combined between Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. I think there were 12 of 21 from 3 between those two. What did you guys think about the performance last night between Paul George and Maxey? And do you think this is something that can be replicated?
They played well, man. I think that the opportunities are there. I think the pace, especially the pace that Charlotte tries to play, gave us some more opportunities on the offensive end. But they were efficient. They were shooting the ball well and attacking. I do not think this is something that can be maintained. I think this is something that can happen sporadically. But the 40 and 33, no, that's not. I think Maxey can probably get 33. But I don't think that they can sustain that level of scoring game to game. But I do think that they can lead the team, obviously, and lead maybe all the participants in a particular game in scoring on a consistent basis. They are capable of doing that. But I have to see, because it was especially from Paul, it was a high jump shot game. And in most cases, you average out in all these jump shots. So when you're shooting above average, most likely you're going to have a game where it's going to come back down. The average is going to come back down. So hopefully we can kind of mix it up a little bit, get to the free throw line a little more, and get to the basket a little more. I know Maxey does that, but hopefully we can maintain it. I'm just sort of a creature of habit, knowing that, you kind of average out in most cases. But I do think that if they're aggressive and the cohesiveness of the group is getting better, we can continue to win some games and try to get back into the playoff bunch right now. Because when we are approaching January, and in most cases, teams that, if you're in the hunt in January, you tend to stick around in most cases.
And it was the second most free throw attempts he's ever had in a game too for Maxey. So that was also very encouraging.
Good.
I wouldn't count on that on a night in, night out basis either. But hey, if you can uptick that a little bit and go to the free throw line more, it'd make his life a lot easier. I don't think it's something you can just hope for replication. And I don't think you want it to be that way too. We only have 3 guys in double figures. So we're going to need a little more balance. Who's going to be the 4th guy to step up on a night-to-night basis? I don't know. Hopefully we can get Caleb right and get him involved a little more. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It was also nice to see Drummond step up and pull down 15 boards. We really needed him to step up and do that. 9 and 15, great game from him. That's what we wanted when we got him, right? In the interim, whenever Embiid's not going to be there, those kind of games. That's the Drummond we got or wanted. Oubre 19 9 and 4, 2 steals and a block. I mean, that's great. That's I don't know if you're going to get 7-11 shooting from Oubre every single night, but it's just it's good to have that. He's going to need to step up. But I don't think 73 combined points. Can they average around 60 points every night? They could probably do that. One goes off a little more, one still scores in the mid-20s.
That's tough.
It is tough. But I mean, hey, look, if George keeps shooting 20 times a game, I mean, unless he's just really off that night, he should have in the 20s. But like I said earlier, George is going to for that to happen.
I'm not saying they can't be done. I'm not saying they can't be done. I'm saying that's tough.
It is tough. They also had 48 attempts.
Yeah, I just think that's tough is all I'm saying.
48 attempts between the two. So they shot a lot. So
that was Paul George's first 30-point game as a Sixer. He's had 2 29-point games. That was his first eclipsing the 30 marker. So between 60, that's gonna be tough. Yeah, between the two of them.
Yeah,
55 is doable though.
Well, if they're shooting 40 to 45 times a game,
it's a lot.
They should get in the 50s every single night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need it in order to continue without Embiid.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And also it helps to play Charlotte, like you guys mentioned there. Yeah, we play Charlotte again Friday night. I feel like we played them like 10 times this season already. I think it's the 4th time we played them, but it feels like we played them like 10 times. I don't know. It's really really odd. Every time I see my schedule, we're playing Charlotte again.
It's got to be the last time, right? It's the last
time.
Has
to be. It's got to be.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. Well, that does it for us. We will see you guys Friday as we preview the Charlotte game as well as the Cleveland Cavaliers game the following night. So we have a back-to-back this coming weekend. So the guys got a few more days off until their next game. But that does it for us. We'll see you guys Friday. Have a good week, everybody.
All right, guys.
See you, fellas.
Later on.
All right, take it easy.
See you guys.